We're on the Mishnah on Lamed Beis and Beis. If you're not on the Mishnah on Lamed Beis and Beis, then now you are. But you should catch up, because as I said in the first year, it would be a shame to do 7.5 years and just miss one blot. So if you didn't do yesterday, Rabbi's hearing said he got up to the Mishnah on Lamed Beis and Beis. Okay. Good year to everyone. Hayu mehalchin baderech. Ve'echad ba kenegdan. So there were 6 people, as will be clear from the Mishnah, and this Mishnah was quoted on Lamed Aleph. But there were 6 people who were walking on the derech, and there was one coming towards them. Amar echad mehen. So one of the 6 said, Hareini Nazir shezeh ploni. I hereby declare that I will be a Nazir if that is Ruvain. Again, 6 guys hanging out, one guy walking towards them, and you can't see exactly who it is, but he says, I will be a Nazir if that's Ruvain. Ve'echad omer hareini Nazir she'ein zeh ploni. I'm a Nazir if that's not Ruvain. So obviously the second guy has a much better chance of being a Nazir because he has everyone else in the world except for Ruvain. Hareini Nazir she'echad mikem Nazir. So a third guy says, okay, you know what, I'm going to get in on the action. So he says, I'm going to be a Nazir if one of you is a Nazir. So clearly the third one's definitely going to be a Nazir because one of those 2 guys is right. It's either Ruvain or not Ruvain. She'ein echad mikem Nazir. And the next guy says, 4th guy says, I'm left out, I want to get in this action also. He says, I'm taking to be a Nazir that one of you is not a Nazir. Well, he's also seemingly going to be a Nazir because one of them is not going to be a Nazir. The one who either is Ruvain or it's not Ruvain. Sheshneichem Nazirim. And the other guy says, you're both going to be a Nazir. Seemingly at first glance, this guy wouldn't be a Nazir because it's impossible that both of them could be a Nazir. Either it's Ruvain or not Ruvain. Shekulchem Nazirim. Then we say that all 5 of you are Nazirim. So that seemingly is also going to be an issue because he's not going to be a Nazir because Shekulchem Nazirim. How can all 5 of them be Nazirim? It's either a Nazir or not a Nazir. It's either Ruvain or it's not Ruvain. Again, we're on Lamed Beis and Beis. Yesterday's DAF was Lamed Beis. So we're picking up for Lamed Gimel. But as you'll see, Lamed Gimel is pretty short. So he stopped at the Mishnah yesterday. Beit Shammai Omrim Kulan Nazirin. Wow. So Beit Shammai has a Chiddush and says they're all Nazirim. Even though it's impossible that it's Ruvain and not Ruvain, it's impossible that it's not Ploni or it is Ploni. I'm a Nazir. If one of you is right, if both of you are right, if all of you are right. Beit Shammai says, I don't care what the if is. Once you say Hareini Nazir, after you say Hareini Nazir, it's as if you said Hareini Nazir, blah, 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 blah. Once you say Hareini Nazir, you become a Nazir. Why? So what does that mean? Beit Shammai says that all of these Naziruses are unconditional. And the statement that follows Hareini Nazir, whether Hareini Nazir shezeh ploni, shezeh ein ploni, she'echad mikem, she'ein echad mikem, she'kulchem, etc., she'shneichem, all of these are just statements of the reason for my vow. I sincerely want to become a Nazir. However, believing that my notion is correct, I'm going to give you a reason why I'm going to become a Nazir. I'm becoming a Nazir, or the basis of my Nazirus, I would say. The reason that I'm becoming a Nazir is because I really believe that this guy is Ruvain. Even if this guy's not Ruvain, I still really want to become a Nazir. The only reason I'm saying and that this guy's Ruvain is because I truly believe that this guy's Ruvain. Okay, I'm mistaken that this guy's not really Ruvain, but I still, Lamaisa, want to be a Nazir. That's what Beit Shammai says. And therefore, everybody's a Nazir in this case, all 6 of them. Ubeis Hillel Omrim, and Beis Hillel says, Eino Nazir ela misha lo niskaimu devarav. Nobody's a Nazir except for the person whose devarav are not niskayim. What's wrong with this statement? What should it say? Eino Nazir ela misha niskaimu devarav. So the Gemara is going to point that out. But Beis Hillel, we're going to learn it as if it said Misha Niskaimu Devarav, because that's how the Gemara is going to explain it. So Eino Nazir Ela Misha Niskaimu Devarav. So the only person who's a Nazir is Misha Niskaimu Devarav. What does Beis Hillel say? So Beis Hillel argues on Beit Shammai. Beit Shammai says that none of these are conditional because Lamaisa, he's basically saying unconditionally I want to be a Nazir, and the condition is not a condition. Beis Hillel says no, conditional Nazirus is fine, and therefore if the condition is fulfilled, so then you become a Nazir. If the condition is not fulfilled, then you don't become a Nazir. So whichever condition, if it's Ruvain, then that guy is. And then if that guy is, so then, again, number 3 and number 4 will be also, because one of them is going to be a Nazir, one of them is not going to be a Nazir. So Lamaisa, if, let's just give an example. If number 1, let's say the guy is Ruvain. So now according to Beis Hillel, Shezeh Ploni, so he's going to be a Nazir. Shezeh Ein Ploni is not going to be a Nazir. She'echad Mikem Nazir is going to be a Nazir. She'ein Echad Mikem Nazir is going to be a Nazir. She'shnechem Nazirim is not going to be a Nazir. And Shekuchem Nazirim is not going to be a Nazir. So 3 of the guys will be Nazirim, if it's in fact Ruvain. And if it's not Ruvain, again, it'll be the same thing. V'Rabbeinu Tarfon Omer, Ein Echad Mehem Nazir. And Rabbeinu Tarfon says that none of them are Nazir. So what does Rabbeinu Tarfon seem to be saying? Rabbi Tarfon seems to be going to the exact opposite extreme of Beit Shammai. Beit Shammai says everyone's a Nazir because they all took unconditional Nazirim. Beis Hillel says some of them are Nazirim because they took conditional Nazirim, but whichever conditions are filled. And Rabbeinu Tarfon says none of them are a Nazir because seemingly he would say that no Nazirus that's conditional will work even if the conditions are fulfilled. So you have 3 different extremes. Nazir, even if the conditions are not fulfilled because we don't care, unconditional. Nazir, only if your conditions are fulfilled. And Rabbi Tarfon, Nazir, not a Nazir, even if your conditions are fulfilled because we don't have conditional Nazirus. Those are the 3 opinions. Here, Tiala Chora Veino Nazir. Sounds like an interesting case. What happens? Ruvain starts, or non-Ruvain, whoever it is, starts walking, and then as he gets closer, they still can't see him. He turns around and says, yo, it looks like 6 guys of a mob. 6 Jewish guys are scary. I don't want to go face these 6 Jewish guys. And he turns around and he goes home. So now we have no idea whether it was Ruvain or not Ruvain. So what do you do in that case? Eino Nazir. So the Gemara, and it doesn't say who this is, but the Gemara will explain this is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. The guy's not a Nazir. Why is the guy not a Nazir? Why is nobody a Nazir? Because we don't know who this guy was. Well, who's this going like? This can't be going like Beit Shammai, because Beit Shammai would say you're automatically a Nazir unconditionally. Seemingly, this is not like Beis Hillel, because Beis Hillel says you're only a Nazir if your condition is fulfilled, and we don't know that the conditions are fulfilled here, because the guy turned around. Who is this like? Seemingly, it's not like Rabbi Tarfon, I don't know. Ein Echad Mehem Nazir, we'll have to see exactly who this is like. So this says that seemingly conditional Nazirus work, and it's only going to work, though, if the condition is fulfilled. Okay. Rabbi Shimon Omer, no. What do you do in this case? Well, you have a little bit of a problem, because you don't know whether the guy was Ruvain or not. So he's a Safek Nazir now. Safek Nazir might actually be a Nazir. So what does Rabbi Shimon say? Yomar, what the guy should say is, Im hayakid vari hareini Nazir chova. If, in fact, that was Ruvain, or if the other guy who said, I'm going to be a Nazir, if it's not Ruvain, if, in fact, it wasn't Ruvain, what does he say? Then I'm a Nazir chova. And in case it wasn't Ruvain, v'im lav hareini Nazir nedava. Now I'm taking upon myself to be a Nazir never. Why does he need to do this, says Rabbi Shimon? Because seemingly, what happens if he's really a Nazir? If he's really a Nazir, so then he needs to go ahead and he can't drink wine and he can't. Let's say he is not a Nazir, so why do we have to be worried? Maybe he's not a Nazir, because maybe he is a Nazir. Okay, well, if he's not a Nazir and he doesn't do anything, then he starts drinking wine, it's a problem. But let's say he became a Nazir, so just say don't do any Naziris. Well, the problem is that now if he pretends to be a Nazir, so why doesn't he just become a Nazir? What does he have to lose by just becoming a Nazir? Well, if he becomes a Nazir and he's not really supposed to be a Nazir, so now he's going to shave his head. Shaves his head. You're not allowed to shave your payas over here unless you're in Nazirus. And at the end of the thing, he's going to bring all of these korbanos. How could he bring korbanos if he's not really a Nazir? So Mamanoshach, we say we're going to have a problem. If he practices Nazirus, it's going to be a problem with the shaving and the korbanos. If he doesn't practice Nazirus, then he's going to end up drinking wine or cutting his hair. It's also going to be a problem. So what does he do? Since he's the Nazir B'Safek, he goes ahead and he says, in case I wasn't a Nazir from Ruvain, because I don't know who that guy is, he turned around, now I'm taking upon myself a voluntary Nazirus. That's what the mission.
Is there no difference by a Nazir who's in other words, who's really mamish a Nazir as opposed to an Adava? I mean, a Nedava is not the same level of commitment.
I think it's just calling a Nazir Nedava. I didn't look into it much, but I think it's calling him a Nazir Nedava. But at the end of the day, Lamaisa, it's either I am a Nazir if that's Ruvain. So if in fact that is Ruvain, what's the difference between saying I'm a Nazir now versus I'm a Nazir if that's Ruvain? He's basically saying now I'm becoming a Nazir. I'm not sure. There might be, but I'm not sure that by saying, okay, in case that wasn't Ruvain, now I'm going to become a Nazir. I'm not sure that this Nazirus is going to be any weaker than the Nazirus of if that's Ruvain, now I'll become a Nazir.
Also, there might be a gap in a time between, let's say, 15 minutes or whatever, between one type of Nazirus and the other one being a Dove. right? Which would
No, so he says, Yomar.
Different during that gap of time.
Well, it depends what he did. Again, if he drank wine in a chanami, he has a problem. If he cut his hair, he has a problem. If he just did a shave al taisa, if he didn't do anything, then there's no problem. He didn't bring any karbanos, he didn't shave his head, he didn't drink anything, he wasn't over the nazirus, and he wasn't over the non-nazirus. So that's not an issue. But if he actually goes ahead and does something, then it might be an issue. So we asked the kasha. We said that the opinion of Beis Hillel doesn't make any sense. Beis Hillel says he's not a Nazir except the guy that's not Niskaimu Devar. We said that's a fakir. It should be the opposite. Only the person who is Niskaimu Devar should be a Nazir. So the Gemara says, Amar Yehuda Ema Misha Niskaimu Devarav. Whoever is Niskaimu Devarav, he is going to be a Nazir. Fine. So what do we say? Amar Abaye Amar. Abaye says, Kigon da Amar. Abaye says, no, it's a different chiddush of Beis Hillel. Abaye Amar, Kigon da Amar, what did he say? Inami lav plonihu, and the Hagos changes it, ahave Nazir. Basically what happens is the guy said, I am a Nazir if that's Ruvain. Then right away the guy said, Inami, I'm changing my mind, lav plonihu. If that's not Ruvain, ahave Nazir, then I'll be a Nazir. What does he do? He basically changes his mind immediately. Instead of saying, I'm a Nazir if that's Ruvain, he's saying, I'm a Nazir if that's not Ruvain. So what does it mean? It means that he could change his mind. So what's Beis Hillel saying? Eino Nazir. He's not a Nazir. Ella misha lo niskaimu devar. Listen to the Gemara. The Gemara says, Umay lo niskaimu devar. What does it mean that you're only a Nazir if Eino niskaimu devar? Lo niskaimu devar harishonim ella devar achronim. Again, let's read the case into the Mishnah now. So the case is the guy says, I am a Nazir if that's Ruvain. Then he says, no, I'm changing my mind, and I'm a Nazir if that's not Ruvain. So Beis Hillel says, Eino Nazir. This guy is not a Nazir. Ella mi shelo niskaimu dvarav. Except if his dvarav harishonim are lot niskaimu. What was his dvarav harishonim? If that's Ruvain, I'm a Nazir. What does it mean that his dvarav harishonim were not niskaimu? That means it wasn't Ruvain. Well, since he changed and says, if it's not Ruvain, I'm a Nazir, so then Eino Nazir Ella Mishal lo niskaimu devarav. That means that somebody who's lo niskaimu devarav becomes a Nazir. Lo niskaimu devarav harishonim. It in fact is not Ruvain. Then he becomes a Nazir because immediately afterwards he said, if it's not Ruvain, I will become a Nazir. So what's Beis Hillel teaching us? Beis Hillel is teaching us that you can go ahead and you can change Toch Kedei Dibor. You could change your thing. And even though this guy said, I am a Nazir if that's Ruvain, if immediately afterwards he said, you know what, I changed my mind, I'm a Nazir if that's not Ruvain, and it ends up not being Ruvain, and therefore lo niskaimu dvar harishonim, which was if that's Ruvain, and really it wasn't Ruvain, and therefore he becomes a Nazir, and that's the chiddush of Beis Hillel, that he changed his mind, and we hold of his changing of his mind. But that's a separate discussion of Abaye.
But if it is Ruvain,
so then he's not a Nazir, because Lamaisa, the second thing, according to the way that Abaye is explaining, Beis Hillel is teaching me that the second thing takes effect. That's his chiddush. That when he says I am a Nazir if it's Ruvain, that's within Beis Hillel. Right. Clearly, Abaye within Beis Hillel holds that if he doesn't hold like Beit Shammai, that a conditional Nazirus is not conditional, it's unconditional. He would hold that a conditional Nazirus is only seemingly fulfilled if the condition is fulfilled. In this case, the condition wasn't fulfilled because in fact it wasn't Ruvain. Or it was Ruvain according to the way you're asking. So then, okay. But that's Abaye. But again, according to the Pashup Pshat, the way that we have right now, and this is the important part to walk away with, is that if you have these cases where they all say, if it's Nazir, I'm a Nazir, if it's Ruvain, if it's not Ruvain, if one of you, if not one of you, both of you, all kulchem, Beit Shammai says everyone's a Nazir. Beis Hillel says only if your condition is fulfilled. So Beis Hillel says conditional Nazirus is fine, but only if the condition is fulfilled. And Rabbi Tarfon says no, conditional Nazirus ain't echem am Nazir, because if you have conditional Nazirus, then even if the condition is fulfilled, so then nobody is going to become a Nazir. Hirtia la'achorav eino Nazir. So now again, just to say it outside before we read it inside, and you'll be surprised by the next DAF if you haven't seen it yet. There is no Lama Gimel Lama Beis. So here, what?
Is that the only place in the
I'm not sure. I'm not yet holding in all of Shas, but I was pleasantly surprised when Rabbi Kroppen asked me to give the DAF. I said, sure, great DAF. Okay,
but
perfect.
you got to do all the before shows.
No. This is a Gemara only DAF. So let's just say it outside a second. Here, Tia la'achorav eino Nazir. So if the guy, again, somebody's walking towards them, and now he turns around. So now the Gemara says, the Mishnah says, Eino Nazir, nobody's a Nazir. So who does that go like? So that can't be like Beit Shammai, because again, Beit Shammai doesn't matter if the guy turned around, they might say you all become Nazirim. Seemingly, that's not like Rabbi Tarfon. Why? Because Rabbi Tarfon says nobody's a Nazir even if the condition is fulfilled. It sounds like if you're saying that if the guy turned around, what does that imply? That if he didn't turn around and he came, so then if in fact whoever it was, so then if the condition was fulfilled, so then it would be good. So this seems to be going like Beis Hillel, the way that Rabbi Yehuda explained it, which will be glad, as we'll see in a second. So this seems to be like here Tialach, or if the guy turns around, ain't no Nazir because we have a suffix Nazirus. It's not like Rabbi Shimon either, because Rabbi Shimon would say what? You should become a Nazir. You should go ahead and take a Nazir Nedava. Seemingly this is like Rabbi Yehuda, or like Beis Hillel within Rabbi Yehuda, that the guy turns around, so you're not a Nazir because you don't know if the condition was fulfilled, which implies that if he didn't turn around and he came, so if we saw who he was, say Nechanami, whoever's condition was fulfilled based on that guy, would in fact become a Nazir. So that's what the Gemara is going to say now. Taima mishum dar tial achorav ha'asi lekaman have a Nazir. That implies that the reason that nobody's a Nazir is because the guy turned around. If he didn't turn around, so then whoever fulfilled their condition based on this guy, that would be a Nazir. Who is that? That's Beis Hillel within Rabbi Yehuda. Money, who is this? Liba Rabbi Tarfon, mi havi Nazir. We said, Rabbi Tarfon, I said it outside already, it can't be Rabbi Tarfon, because why would he be a Nazir? Rabbi Tarfon says that nobody's a Nazir even if the condition is fulfilled. Kevan de beshaita de kanazir lo yada ploni huvelilo. Since at the time that he took the Nazirus, we didn't know whether it was ploni or not, i.e. it was a conditional Nazirus, and what does he hold? Mi chala lea Nazirus. We know that Rabbi Tarfon holds that if you have a conditional Nazirus, so it's never chal the Nazirus. This is very interesting. The Gemara is going to say, it can't be Rabbi Tarfon, because we see in a brayso that Rabbi Tarfon holds conditional Nazirus is not chal. It's just interesting, because what could the Gemara have done? The Gemara could have brought our Mishnah to prove that Rabbi Tarfon holds that conditional Nazirus is not chal. But it brings another brayso. V'atanya Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mishum Rabbi Tarfon Ein echad meham Nazir lefisha lo natna Nazirus el lahafla. Nazirus only comes lahafla. What does hafla mean? There's a sefer called the Sefer Hafla. I forgot who wrote it. Sefer Hafla is one of the achronim on Shas. The Hafla. He's called Hafla, but I forgot who it is. He wrote another sefer as well.
In Yiddish, it would be Hafla, a wunder.
What is that? A wonder?
Yeah.
So hafla means clarity, clear. Yes. The word hafla means to be clear, like nifla, it's clear. So ein echad mehem Nazir, nobody becomes a Nazir because Nazirus is only when it's clarity. Nazirus is only when you said I'm a Nazir, when it's not conditional. If it's conditional, that's not clear because it depends on the condition. So we see that it's not Rabbi Tarfon. So who is it? So I already said outside, I spoiled it. I said it's Rabbi Yehuda. Because again, Rabbi Yehuda, which worked out perfectly with Beis Hillel, who says what? That Nazirus is chal to whoever the condition works. So it says, Ella Rabbi Yehuda dekrihu. It's going to be Rabbi Yehuda of the case of the pile. The Tanya, Hareini Nazra Manache He Bekri Hazemea Kor. If I say I'm going to be a Nazir if there's 100 core in this pile, V'halachu Matzo Shenignavo Sha'avad, and I found that it was stolen or it was going ahead and it was lost, so what would Rabbi Yehuda say? Rabbi Yehuda would say what? Rabbi Yehuda would say he's not a Nazir. That's what it means, Rabbi Yehuda Matir. He's not a Nazir because L'maiseh, it's like the guy turned around. This is our proof. Rabbi Shimon Osa. Rabbi Shimon says he is a Nazir. Why? Because as we saw in our Mishnah, what does Rabbi Shimon say? Not that he's automatically a Nazir, but what does the guy need to do? He needs to go ahead and he needs to practice Nazirus. He should take a Nazir Nedava, and he should say, in case I wasn't actually a Nazir because we don't know how much was in this pile, the guy should say, in case, since I don't know, and I might have been a Nazir Chova, in case I'm not a Nazir Chova, I should become a Nazir now, a Nazir Nedava. Rabbi Shimon Savar, Kevan Ilulo Nignav, Dilma Havu Beimea, Kor Vahavi Nazir, Hashtanami Havi Nazir. Rabbi Shimon says that if it wasn't stolen, maybe there was 100 in there, and therefore you would have been a Nazir, therefore now you should become a Nazir as well by taking a Nazir Nedava. So too in our case, where the guy might have been Ruvain, Hashtanami Havi Nazir. Therefore he's a Nazir, i.e. he should go ahead and take the Nazir Nedava. But again, for our purposes, what we brought this Mishnah for, this brisa, was to see Rabbi Yehuda's Matir. Rabbi Yehuda's Matir in the case where the pile was lost, because Rabbi Yehuda would say that Eina Chanami, a conditional Nazirus, if in fact fulfilled, you become a Nazir. But Eina Chanami, in this case, since we don't know what happened to the pile, so conditional Nazirus, just like when the guy turned around, if the pile is lost, just like when the guy turned around, Rabbi Yehuda would say that the guy is not in fact a Nazir, because Eina Chanami, we don't know whether there was 100 in it, and we don't know whether this guy was in fact Reuven. The Rav will pick up tomorrow in the Mishnah, Lamed Al Lamed Aleph. Shraga.